Okay, what happens if you want to make an irregular shape that's not a geometric shape, more organic or funky looking or blob-like? Rounded edges or the letter of a name, F, or your favorite number. Let's say you're the number 2. I recommend if you're going to do letters or numbers that you do block letters. It's not going to be very easy to do a 2 like that or an F or any other letter if you don't make it into a block letter. Even if you simply just kind of outline what you have if you're not so good at block letters, just to give yourself extra corners. So any of these can be connected the same way. You find the closest corners that need to be connected that don't go through the shape. So for this 2, I'm going to take the corners that are close and connect them again with a dotted dashed or light line to the vanishing point. And I'm just starting here for right now. There's a little bit more to do with these, but we're going to start with what we know. And what we know is to connect the corners that don't go through the shape. If this one doesn't go through the shape, I'm going to connect it so it doesn't, and I'm going to connect it like that. Then we have to do some parallel lines. So a parallel line, maybe on the top here, before I do that, remember the circle? Remember how far we can go without connecting the corner? Maybe I'm going to go up to the top here a little bit. Because on this 2, we can see the left side of it, because it's to the right of the vanishing point, and the bottom of it, because we're a worm looking up. So if we can see the left side of it, I'm going to make my first parallel line by lining up this line and pulling it. That's my first line. And that's going to show the bottom left side of the top of that 2. Now I've got this kind of curve, and I can't use a ruler too much for it, but I'm going to try to memorize that line with my pen and then do the same thing back here and then connect the top with the ruler for a nice straight line. So now I've got the bottom of it and the left side showing. I'm going to take about that same width, okay, and kind of eyeball it right here. And that width is going to be where I make my parallel line for this part, like so. And that's showing the left side. Now the bottom here kind of does this like curve thing, okay? It's not a straight line. So I'm going to have to kind of replicate that a little bit in there with a nice thick edge on the back side. So this curve kind of mimics the front curve. All right, so what do I do for here? I'm going to look at maybe connecting a point that's not really there. And this is just kind of to see it a little bit better. I would use a pencil and erase it more later, but for this sake, I'm going to connect it. And if you see that guideline, we can take what we know and kind of connect. I'm going to try to match this curve for as far as I can go, keeping it the same width as up here. I'm doing something that looks like that. It's going to seem like if I would connect it here, it would go through there and end up on the other side. I would erase this point, but that's kind of how you make the curve showing to the left. Same thing with the F. You'd connect the corners closest, go from there. I'm going to try this guy here, and we can name him if you want. Maybe we name him Frank. That's the name of the shape. Hey, Frank. And I'm just going to make some points. Now, these aren't real points. These are kind of points just to help my eye see where I can line up this shape. And if you're not sure where to make a point, anywhere it curves, you can make a point, or if you want extra help, make extra points, just to kind of give yourself some guidelines. You can erase these later if you need to, but for the sake of doing this one, do you see how I've added all those points? Now this point here, if I line it up to the vanishing point, if it goes through my shape, I'm not going to connect it right now. So I'm going to go on to the next point and connect that one, like that, and keep going. Like that. Now, this point here, if I would connect it to the vanishing point, you're saying, oh, I'm not going to connect it because if I go through it, I would go through this little arm. True, but I'm going to connect it until I get to that arm, and then I'm going to stop. And if there's anywhere else that does that, I'm just gonna kind of line up my ruler. The edge of this part can connect to the vanishing point without going through the shape. But I'm gonna stop when I get there. And you'll see why in just a minute. I'm gonna connect here and here, maybe down there. Again, it doesn't hurt to add more points at this point. And then go on. Maybe the furthest edge, again, like my cylinder, the furthest edge that I can, connect those. Down here, can I connect it to the vanishing point? I sure can, and I'm just gonna stop when I hit the other arm. Down here, I might be able to sneak a little line in there. This one down here, I would go right through the shape, so I'm not gonna connect anything there or there, unless I was gonna make it see-through, and that's a whole nother game. Now I'm going to know that I'm a bird, I'm flying above it, so I'd see the top of this shape, and since the vanishing point is here, I would see the left side of it. So I'm gonna pick a width, and maybe it's gonna go from here to here, about this width. What is that, about 1/2 inch? And from there, I'm going to follow the curve down to the next point. Okay, when I get to this curve here, I'm gonna stop if it runs into the shape next to it, because I'm only seeing the left side and the top of this. And if I need to, I can keep going about 1/2 inch and around to the corner like that. It's kind of broken because I wouldn't see the right side of this because of where I'm standing or viewing it from. Now I'm going to take another 1/2 inch down here. This is about 1/2 inch away to make that width. And then I'm going to follow it around the curve like so. I'm doing this curve, but I'm matching it back behind. And I'm gonna go right up there. Not showing the bottom of it because I'm not a worm. I'm the bird looking down from the top. Gotta love those motion lights that went out. Sorry if you can't see this. Same thing here, about 1/2 inch away from this area. And I'm gonna replicate the curve here, like that. And if I can sneak 1/2 inch away here to make it about the same width, and there, I think it would hide behind. So that's kind of how you do a random shape, an irregular shape, and it kind of depends upon how many corners you make, how many arms stick out, and where things are. If I was going to do this see-through, then I would have to make even more lines, have them going through here, trying to figure out another shape back behind here that's the same as the front. It gets pretty complicated. I'd be happy if you can get one of these done and do it well. And again, remember when you look at this shape, you're looking at a bird eye view, so you can only see the tops of it, top edges, and the left side. You wouldn't see the right side of the shape, and you shouldn't see really much of the bottom of anything from here because you're not looking at it from below, you're looking at it from above, top down. So go ahead and experiment and try your best with that one.